True power lies in valuing yourself first. When you detach from needing validation, approval, or attention, you shift your energy from lack to confidence. And that shift is magnetic. People are drawn not to desperation, but to self-respect, peace, and certainty. The moment you stop chasing and start choosing yourself, the dynamic changes. Not because you're playing a game, but because you've stopped settling. It's a reminder that love, rooted in alignment, not fear, is the only kind worth having. And it starts with how you show up for you. There comes a point when holding on starts costing more than letting go. You wake up tired, not from life, but from waiting, wondering, and watering dead plants. You try, you care, you give, and all you're met with is silence, half effort, or indifference. That's not love. That's not partnership. That's you carrying a connection on your back. And it's heavy. You tell yourself, maybe if I try a little harder, but deep down you know the truth. The truth is, you're not being matched. Not in energy, not in presence, not in commitment. And you feel it, even if you haven't admitted it yet. You think caring more will make them see your value. You think being available, being consistent, being everything will make them wake up. But let me tell you something real. You can't force someone to care by caring harder. That's not love. That's desperation disguised as loyalty. And it's slowly killing your self-worth. Because every time you show up and they don't, your self-respect takes a hit. Every time you reach out and get crumbs, your standards shrink. And it becomes a cycle, a loop, a trap, one that you're choosing every time you prioritize them over your peace. But here's the plot twist. The moment you stop caring like your life depends on it, everything shifts. When you let go, not out of spite, not to manipulate, but out of respect for yourself, the energy flips. You start walking different, talking different. There's a calmness in your soul that doesn't need attention to feel validated. You stop chasing and start attracting. You stop over-explaining and start observing. And guess what happens? People notice. That silence, that detachment, that confidence, it hits different. It unsettles those who took your presence for granted. They start to feel the void you once filled. Letting go doesn't mean you don't care anymore. It means you finally care enough about yourself to stop begging for what should have been freely given. It means you've realized your worth is not up for debate. It means you've chosen peace over pressure, and trust me, that's power. You stop showing up where you're unappreciated. You stop texting first just to feel connected. You stop putting energy into conversations that go nowhere. And that space, that silence, that's where you heal. That's where you remember who the hell you are. You didn't come this far to settle for almost, maybe, or kinda. Some people only realize your value when your absence starts echoing louder than your presence ever did. But that's not your problem anymore. You're not here to play emotional ping pong. You're not here to keep proving yourself to someone who refuses to see you. That's not strength. That's emotional bankruptcy. True strength is walking away without needing a big dramatic exit. True strength is no longer making excuses for disrespect. You don't chase. You don't beg. You don't wait. You evolve. You elevate. And the ones meant for you will rise, not run. When you stop caring, you stop negotiating your self-worth with people who only show up when it's convenient. You stop bending over backward to keep temporary people comfortable. And guess what? That new boundary will piss some people off. They were feeding off your energy while giving you none. That's okay. Let them be uncomfortable. Let them wonder. That discomfort is the cost of your growth. You're not responsible for their feelings. You're responsible for your healing. And healing sometimes looks like silence, space, and walking away with your head held high. They'll chase, sure, not because they've changed, but because they lost control. What they used to manipulate no longer works. What they used to ignore now haunts them. Your detachment becomes their confusion, and they'll come back offering words, promises, attention. But now you've seen the pattern, you've done the math, and you know the difference between attention and effort, between guilt and growth, between chasing and choosing. You don't fall for the rerun when you've already learned the lesson. You nod, you smile, but you keep walking because you've moved on from wanting to be wanted. Letting go is not weakness. Letting go is power. It's the moment you say, I choose me, not in a selfish way, but in a deeply necessary one. It's realizing that your peace is too expensive to rent out to people who don't value it. It's putting your energy back into your goals, your dreams, your healing. You start showing up for yourself the way you used to show up for everyone else. And you realize you were never too much. You were just offering too much to people who weren't ready. That's their journey, not yours. This shift isn't loud. It doesn't need to be. It's quiet, intentional, grounded. You wake up and you're not checking your phone every 5 seconds. You're not overthinking every word you said. You're not waiting for a reply that never comes. You're building, living, growing. You've replaced anxiety with clarity. And in that clarity, you find peace, you find power, you find you. And that version of you, that's the one they wish they'd appreciated when they had the chance. But by then, you're already gone. Not bitter, not broken, just better. So when you stop caring, it's not the end, it's the beginning of something bigger than the attention you were craving. It's the start of self-respect, self-trust, and unshakable standards. It's the moment you reclaim your time, your energy, your power. And from that place, everything changes. Your posture, your focus, your boundaries. You're no longer asking, why aren't they chasing me? You're too busy becoming the kind of person who doesn't need to be chased. Because you've already arrived, and you're not looking back. People always think it's about what you say, the texts, the calls, the right words at the right time. But the truth, it's never about words. It's about energy. You can say everything right, but if your energy screams fear, neediness, or insecurity, that's what people feel. You don't need to explain yourself when your vibe tells the whole story. Confidence doesn't beg. It doesn't over-explain. It doesn't need reassurance. It walks into the room and doesn't apologize for existing. You know when someone's confident without them saying a word. And the same goes when someone's desperate. Yeah. Desperation can't be masked. It leaks out in how often you reach out, how quickly you reply, how much you overthink. It's in the way you chase someone who barely acknowledges your effort, and people can sense it. They don't always know what it is, but they feel something off. It's why the more you care, the more they pull away. Not because caring is wrong, but because the energy behind it isn't solid. You're not grounded. You're anxious. You're giving too much of yourself too soon. And that imbalance pushes people away, even if they can't explain why. On the flip side, when you shift into calm, confident, detached energy, everything changes. You don't stop being kind. You don't stop loving, but you stop needing. And that subtle shift is powerful. You walk differently, you speak with clarity, you stop trying to impress and start simply existing in your truth. That's when people lean in. That's when they start to notice. Not because you're doing more, but because you've stopped doing too much. You're not selling yourself anymore. You're letting your energy speak. And it's saying, I know who I am. Attraction isn't built in the chase. It's built in the contrast. It's created in that space between availability and mystery, between presence and peace. When you're too available, people assume there's nothing valuable to discover. But when your energy says, I'm whole with or without you, that hits different. It creates curiosity. It creates respect. You stop being an option and start being a standard. That kind of energy makes people reflect. It makes them wonder why you're not chasing, not reacting, not playing the game. And that wondering, that's the beginning of the shift. You ever notice how the second you stop caring, people come back around? It's not magic. It's not a trick. It's energy. When you were chasing, your energy said, I need you to feel whole. But when you let go, your energy says, I've got me. And that self-contained energy draws people in because it's rare. Most people are leaking energy left and right, trying to impress, trying to prove, trying to be enough. But when you're centered, grounded, focused on your own growth, that's rare air. People don't just see it, they feel it and they chase it. This doesn't mean playing games. It means doing the work. The internal shift is real. You stop living for the notification. You stop shrinking yourself to keep the peace. You stop trying to read between lines and start writing your own. You don't flinch when someone pulls away. You let them go not because you don't care, but because you care more about your own alignment. That's strength. That's what energy does when it's clean, when it's focused. You move from reaction to intention, from fear to clarity, from chasing to leading. People remember how you made them feel, not what you said, not how cute your text was, not how fast you replied, but the energy you brought. Were you calm? Were you needy? Were you grounded? That's what sticks. That's what lingers, because long after the words fade, the energy remains. It leaves a mark. That's why the most powerful thing you can ever do is control your energy. Get clear on who you are. Own your worth. Walk with purpose. When you radiate that kind of presence, you stop chasing and start being chased. You attract what you reflect. If your energy is uncertain, you'll attract people who mirror that. If your energy is solid, calm, self-respecting, you'll attract people who rise to meet it or leave because they can't. And that's okay. The point isn't to attract everyone. The point is to attract right. But it starts with you. You can't fake this. You can't pretend to be confident while still people-pleasing on the side. You have to clean your inner world. That's the only way your outer world aligns. Energy doesn't lie, and neither does the mirror life holds up. When you stop trying so hard to be liked, you make room to be respected. When you stop bending to make others comfortable, you start standing in your truth. And that's attractive. That's magnetic, not because you're trying to be, but because you're finally not trying at all. You're just being. And that shift, that's the energy of someone who's done chasing, someone who knows they don't have to scream to be heard, someone who knows silence can be louder than any message ever sent. That's the energy that flips the dynamic. So stop asking what to say. Start asking what energy you're carrying. Is it rooted in trust or fear, in confidence or lack? Are you trying to pull someone closer because you feel whole or because you feel empty? Because people can tell. They may not say it out loud, but they know, they feel it in your tone, in your presence, in the pause between your words. Clean energy doesn't chase. It doesn't rush. It doesn't panic. It simply is. And that stillness, that calm confidence, that's when the game changes. That's when they start chasing you. Choosing yourself isn't about walking away with rage. It's about walking away with reason, with peace, with power. It's knowing that you've tried, you've shown up, and you've given your best. But your best shouldn't cost you your sanity. When you choose yourself, it's not about proving a point. It's about reclaiming your space. The energy you poured into waiting, overthinking, and bending, that energy now comes back to you. You redirect it, you refocus, and suddenly you're not drained. You're recharged, you're building, you're healing. You begin to realize you don't need permission to be at peace. You stop auditioning for a role in someone else's life. You stop thinking you have to earn love by being more, giving more, doing more. Love doesn't demand you erase yourself. It doesn't want a version of you that's edited for comfort. When you choose yourself, you start showing up as you are, not who you think they want. And that's where the magic begins. Because the real you, the one you've been hiding to avoid rejection, that's the version that's unstoppable. That's the version they remember when you leave. It's wild how the energy flips. The one who used to wait by the phone is suddenly too busy building a life. The one who used to doubt themselves now walks with purpose. You stop checking their social media, stop rereading old messages, because you're finally tuned into something bigger, you. And that frequency doesn't beg, it doesn't chase, it doesn't cling. It creates, it moves, it expands. And in that expansion, something beautiful happens. They start to notice your absence more than they ever valued your presence. What used to feel like rejection now feels like redirection. You see every unanswered message, every broken promise, every moment you were left hanging, and you no longer take it personally. You see it for what it is, a lesson, a wake-up call, a sign to rise. When you choose yourself, you're not looking to be rescued anymore. You become your own hero. You stop needing someone to save you from the silence. You embrace it, you sit in it, and from that quiet space, you rebuild, not out of bitterness, but out of love for yourself. You stop settling because you now know what you bring to the table, not in a loud, arrogant way, in a grounded, unshakable way. You've walked through disappointment and didn't let it break you. You've faced the hard truth that not everyone you want will show up for you, and you survived that. So now, your standard isn't just about who likes you. It's about who respects you, who chooses you with clarity, not confusion, who shows up without you having to beg. That's the shift. That's the glow up. It's internal and it's unmissable. It's funny how when you stop reaching out, they start reaching back. When you stop chasing, they start wondering. When you stop showing up, they start checking in. But here's the thing. You're no longer doing this for that reaction. It's not a strategy. It's not reverse psychology. It's just growth. Authentic, grounded, soul-deep growth. You've outgrown the need to be chosen by someone who wasn't choosing you fully to begin with. And when they come back, maybe you smile, maybe you respond, or maybe you don't, but the chase has already flipped and you're not looking back. Your time becomes sacred. Your energy becomes selective. You no longer entertain what doesn't align. You no longer explain your boundaries. You just live them. Choosing yourself means being okay with people misunderstanding you. It means being okay with people walking away. Not because you don't care, but because you care enough about your own well-being to stop settling for halfway love. You don't have to fight to be seen when you see yourself clearly. You don't have to beg to be heard when you speak truth to yourself every day. That's where your power lives now. You used to think love was about effort, but now you know it's about alignment. You still believe in effort, sure, but it has to flow both ways. No more one-sided loyalty, no more overgiving just to keep a place in someone's life. That old version of you, the one who thought love meant proving yourself constantly, is gone. You've evolved. You've healed. You've realized that when love is real, it feels safe. Not stressful, supportive, not suffocating, calm, not confusing, and anything less, it's not worth dimming your light for. So here you are, not bitter, not broken, just real, just grounded. You've chosen yourself, and in doing so, you've shifted everything. You're not chasing anymore because you've realized that the right people won't need to be chased. They'll meet you where you are. They'll see your value without needing a sales pitch. And those who don't, that's okay. You're not for everyone, but you are for you. And that's more than enough. That's the foundation. That's the fire. That's where the real journey begins. When you choose yourself without hesitation and never look back. There's a moment in your life when you stop tying your worth to how someone else responds to you. You stop checking your phone like it holds your value. You stop giving your energy to people who only notice you when it's convenient for them. You stop giving pieces of your soul to people who haven't earned access to your heart. That moment is called detachment. Not coldness, not bitterness. Detachment is choosing peace over performance. It's when you no longer react because you're too focused on protecting your energy. That's where your power starts. That's where the chase begins to flip. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you finally care enough about yourself to stop clinging to outcomes you can't control. It's the calm in your voice when someone pushes your boundaries. It's the silence you allow instead of forcing connection. It's not about punishing anyone. It's about elevating your standard. It's where your nervous system starts to rest because you're no longer living in a state of emotional survival. You don't overthink what wasn't said. You don't try to decode mixed signals. You simply stop entertaining chaos. That choice? That's magnetic. People can feel when your energy is no longer available for games. They can sense when you've stopped waiting, when you've stopped hoping they'll show up better. That shift in energy makes them take notice. They may not understand it, but they feel it. And suddenly, the same presence they used to overlook becomes something they crave. That's the paradox of detachment. The less you push, the more they pull. Not because you're manipulating, but because you've stepped into a place of deep self-trust. You're no longer trying to prove, you're just being. And that beingness draws attention. You stop sending long messages trying to explain your heart. You stop asking, where is this going? Or why won't they change? Because you already know if it's unclear, it's not aligned. Detachment teaches you to choose clarity over chaos. It reminds you that real connection doesn't need convincing. It either flows or it forces. And you're done forcing. You'd rather be alone in peace than together in confusion. That quiet self-respect becomes a presence people can't ignore. It speaks louder than words. It tells the world, I know what I bring. I don't chase, I attract. The most attractive person in the room isn't the loudest. It's the one who knows who they are, even in silence. Detachment brings that power back to you. You stop performing. You stop adjusting your truth to be more likable. You just are. And from that place, everything aligns differently. People lean in because they sense the peace you've cultivated. They wonder how you're so calm, so unbothered, so clear. It's not indifference. It's wisdom. You've been through enough to know the difference between attention and intention, and you'll never trade your peace for potential again. You no longer rely on validation from people who can't even validate themselves. You don't entertain inconsistent behavior with hope it will change. You've outgrown the chase. You've outgrown the emotional roller coasters. Detachment has taught you to return home, to yourself, to your boundaries, to your intuition. You now recognize red flags before they become full-blown disasters. You no longer see potential as enough. You need effort. You need consistency. And if it's not there, you walk, not in anger, but in alignment. There's nothing more powerful than someone who knows they can walk away. Detachment gives you that strength. You stopped attaching your happiness to someone else's presence. You stop believing love is supposed to hurt or be confusing. You realize that love, real love, is peace, it's presence, it's clarity, and anything that doesn't feel like that is not your responsibility to fix. You don't chase energy anymore. You match it. You reflect it. And when someone pulls away, you let them, not because you don't care, but because you know you're not supposed to lose yourself to keep them. That silence you're holding now, that pause you've created, it's not emptiness. It's a signal, a shift, a recalibration. You're no longer playing small just to fit someone else's comfort zone. You're expanding, you're becoming, and that's uncomfortable for people who were used to your chase. But that's not your problem anymore. You've got bigger things to build, a life to design, a purpose to fulfill. If someone wants to be in your world, they'll rise to meet you. You're done bending. Detachment means you no longer lower your standard to meet someone at their level of inconsistency. They'll come back. Maybe not right away, maybe not even for the right reasons, but they always come back when your energy shifts. When they realize you're no longer available for the role you used to play, when they feel the silence that used to be filled with your effort. But now you're not waiting for that moment. Because the truth is, by the time they come back, you've already moved forward. Not because you're bitter, but because you've grown and you're not going to shrink again just to feel needed. That's the power of detachment. It's quiet, but it's loud as hell.